Hi there. Welcome, and I'm so glad to be presenting for the Atlantic Education Graduate Conference. And I appreciate that we're able to bring this online in any way that we can. So I'm bringing you into my kitchen because I have been sharing my tools and tips, which is my subject today, for the last almost 70 days, as I've shared with people around the world, the tools trying to keep community going and keeping people motivated and assisted in what my topic is about today. So you are in my kitchen and I'm going to share with you, and rather than prepare a PowerPoint, I'm going to put you to work so you can explore some of the tools, which is why I'm just going to come to you live. So the topic that I researched for my master's thesis is self-empowerment in the healing process, an exploration of bioenergetic wellness techniques to enhance personal decision-making and provide tools for maintaining wellness and health. Now that's a huge mouthful. What it means is putting the power of self-care into the hands of the person and having them not rely on other people to tell them whether they're healthy or what they need to do, but for them to actually just take ownership of it daily and start to participate in it. So the parameters I worked around involved Tai Chi for the most part, but I combined my bioenergetic wellness tools, which is muscle monitoring that comes from Touch for Health, and I put those two together to create the program. I worked with muscle monitoring to identify how you can feel an energy shift. I did injury recall technique, and I've advanced that into a protocol called innate matrix memory, but I'll give you the experience of the most basic component. And then there's breathing with basic movement patterns, which comes from Tai Chi. And then goal setting, to set your priorities, know where your vision is. And as I've been referring to it in Tai Chi, is set your compass, know where you're going. So those are the basic tools that I interviewed students who've been involved in my program for several years and got their feedback on some of the key pieces that they've kept in their practice and also that they've noticed have made a significant difference. The piece that I found in my research that I never even anticipated and didn't really talk about was their group involvement. And the fact that they belonged to a group, they were responsible to that group to meet every week, and that meant they were participating, remembering their skills, practicing the exercises, and going forward. Now, since we've had our isolation and haven't been able to see each other, I have taken that part of the piece and made sure that I've been reaching out to my groups and making sure they're engaged every single day. And that was because I knew the significance of this research to make sure that yes, they have the tools, but still when you come back to the group, there's a dynamic that happens that you just can't accomplish by yourself. So you're going to play with the tools with me, and I'm just going to step back from the camera and I'm just going to adjust this so you can see me and my feet at the same time. All right, and I'm just going to set this aside. So the first thing I want to show you is how to muscle monitor. Okay, and this one I'm going to have to step back even further so you can see all of me. And for this one, you're just looking for the energy shift that happens for you while you're standing. This is the most basic way. It's called the body pendulum. So if you're standing on your feet, you're just going to relax your ankles, your knees, and your hips and just sink into your position, nice and relaxed. So you're just standing on your feet. And then what I want you to do is just think yes and see where your body goes. Okay, mine reacts pretty quick because I'm used to doing this. Yours might take a little bit longer. Okay, and now just think no and see where your body goes. Okay. So for me, a yes goes forward, a no goes backwards. You might have gone side to side. You might have gone to the corner. Some people go in a circle. It doesn't matter what your result is. It's just for you to be able to understand that energetically, however you think, it creates a shift for you. So I could ask a question, but language can be a problem because we sometimes have an idea what we're asking, but the words don't match with what we're asking. So when I'm using this, I try not to use language. So I try not to say, is this chocolate good for me? Because I'll get a yes every time. we already know it's full of sugar, so that's not going to be a good answer, but there might be some good qualities in the chocolate that we're looking for. But if I was to think about my movement, say I've been out in the garden and my body is a little bit tight, and I want to think about what movement pattern do I have that would help loosen that up. So I could stand on my feet. Instead of looking for a yes and a no, I could just look for a shift that happens that tells me energetically there's something different. So I could go through my checklist from my Chi integration program, which was part of what I did in my research. And so I could go walking up and down the stairs, deep breathing, spine rotation. My body starts to move on spine rotation. So then I could go, okay, that's the exercise that I'll put in to help my body adjust. And that would be how I can use a checklist of my tools that I have and be able to activate, knowing that energetically I'll be able to support myself. This is very helpful because a lot of people will do, they'll guess, right? They'll go, well, it's really good for you to go for a walk. Well, that's great, except your body might not want the walk right now. It might want it after you've done spine rotation, and then it would be ready to go. So the muscle monitoring and the body pendulum provide us with a tool to energetically know what is going on in our body and how we can respond in the best way possible. And I've brought this into the self-care tools that are going to help people to make choices that start to change the way they just follow a pattern or a habit or somebody else with their advice of what might be good, but not necessarily the priority that they're at the moment. Okay, so that's how the body pendulum works. So let's move to injury recall technique. So this one is about pulling on, it would be on your ankle, pulling on the ankle, and it actually goes right into the motor tendon. So this space in between the ankle, between the foot and the leg bone, right in that little hollow in your ankle. So be right in that space. Now, I don't work with people who lie on massage tables. I work with people who are in an exercise program. So I'm not going to be pulling on ankles. So I needed a way to be able to help my students with what they're doing. So we created a slightly different way of working with injury recall, in that we were working with, instead, at the base of the skull, which is another point where if you activate this point, it's the same as the ankle, you start to change information that's looped up into the brain. So injury recall, so you can experience it. I want you to think about some injury, sore spot, something that's tight on you or has been giving you some problems. Think about it. And then what I want you to do is just reach down as if you were going to touch your toes. You don't have to. Just feel what it feels like to try to do that action. Okay, so I'm going to focus on my shoulder, which is something that I've been working with. And so I can feel, it's pretty good today, but it has a little bit of stiffness right in here. I can feel it. And if I go down to touch my toes, I have not done any activity yet today, so I actually can't quite get to my toes. And I can feel it. On my right side, I have some scar tissue, sits bone. So I can feel it getting a little bit of pull. I just want you to know, what does that feel like? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do the most basic component of injury recall, and then we're going to go back and assess. So what I want you to do is just make a cone with your fingers and put it by your jaw. And then you're going to nod your head forward and straight. Okay, 3 times. Then you're going to take your fingertips and put them into the top of the hair, posterior fontanelle, and you're going to lower your head 3 more times. Now you're going to put your hand over to wherever that spot is that you were noticing. Nod your head 3 more times. And if it's emotional, you can just think about whatever it is. Nod your head 3 times. That's the most basic component of the technique. So now what I want you to do is move through your range of motion. So that little bit of tightness has left. And now if I go down to touch my toes, and I'm not sure that you can see at the camera, but I was about this far away from my toes when we started, and now I can actually touch my toes. I can still feel the pull here, but I didn't focus on that as my goal. That little technique releases the tension in the body and the tendons and allows everything to relax. So if you've got an emotion that's blocked somewhere, you can actually let it go after you've had some kind of an incident. Okay, that's its most basic component. If you want to know more about it, my website, dancedebut.com, under resources and articles, has the full write-up on innate matrix memory. And I have the research that goes with it and all of the dialogue. So you can check it out if that's of interest to you. So let's go to breathing. Breathing is really key and is very important for anything that we want to do. And a lot of people breathe shallow. So what I did in my program is I introduced either a seated version or a standing version. And this is going to be with just letting the arms rise and lower, known as commencement. Okay, so if I sit down, just so you can see what the position would be, my feet are shoulder width apart, and I would be pushing into my feet, nice deep breath in, float up, and then let everything go and relax. So let's try that again. And then let that go and relax. And a deep breath in and relax. And I think I can feel everybody's breath. Let's do one more. It's like, oh, feels good to just take those deep breaths in. And that's why it's in my program, just to remind people. If you're standing, then you would have your feet shoulder width apart, straight forward. And then you would just sink down into the feet, ankles, knees, and hips, relaxed. If this totally relaxed. And then just push into the feet. As you push, your arms just float up. They're engaged as a whole body movement from the bottom to the top. And that brings in that whole process. Okay, so let's go to goal setting. That was one other key thing. A lot of people start into a program of self-care, but they have no idea where they're going to go. So with every class, always at the beginning, what is the goal or vision that you have? Not just for today, but in the long term. So if you're taking care of yourself, what is your vision? You plan to be hiking somewhere, you want to run a marathon, you want to be able to get into the garden, you want to be able to get down to the floor and back up again off your knees. What is your goal? What is your vision? And how do you see yourself doing that? Make sure that that whole vision is there before we start into any of the movement sequences. And that helps to bring us to the right place of where we want to go. And you always know what your vision is. So that was the other key component. All right. And the last one I said is the value of a group. So with this one, the way that the group is activated for me at this time is every day at 5 o'clock, that would be Atlantic time, I'm on Facebook on Tai Chi Wellness and the Seated Form series. And I broadcast live. I try to broadcast for capabilities that are all the way from beginner up to my students who know all of the sets completely and they just want to gather and be together. I try to interact with the group by, if I see their name come up on the side, I try to say hello, welcome, I'm so glad you've shown up. And in the last couple of days, I've also talked about the impact of, yes, it's wonderful for me to be able to offer, but it is so great what I receive back. And the value of them showing up all the time, sometimes they give me a thumbs up, sometimes hearts go up the screen. That's my link to the group, and it helps to bring everybody into the cohesiveness. So the research I did with this is developing further, and into my doctorate thesis, I am now working on how to build that conversation onto a Canadian platform and into a global platform where wellness is all about how you take care of your self-care, how you are responsible for how things go. Set your vision or your compass, know where you're going. And I did that as one separate video broadcast on Tai Chi Wellness. And just know where that compass is, know what your tools are, ask the body pendulum what you need, and allow the body to have its priorities. And wellness then becomes a journey that's very joyful. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present. I wish I had the opportunity to meet other people in person, but I do look forward to the other presentations. And I wish everyone the best. Thanks again. Take care. I'm Michelle Greenwell. You can find me at dancedebut.com. You can find me on YouTube under Michelle Greenwell, and you can find me on Facebook under The Key to Health with Energy Medicine. It's been my pleasure.